This week we're going to be discussing lipids, which are another macronutrient, along with carbohydrates and protein. So last week our segments were on carbohydrates, this week will be lipids, and then next week we'll move into our final macronutrient of protein. So there are three classes of lipids in the body. These are triglycerides, phospholipids, and sterols. Triglycerides make up 95% of the lipids in the human body. So most of the time we're going to be talking about triglycerides, but we'll get into more specific details of all these three classes throughout the segments of this week's lessons. When we say the word fat, we're usually talking about triglycerides, so we're going to be using these terms interchangeably, so don't let this confuse you. So whenever we're talking about fat, we're usually going to be referring to triglycerides, again, because these do make up 95% of the lipids in the human body and in our food as well. You can refer to Table 5.1 in your textbook. This gives a lot of great information about the usefulness or the role of fats in both the body and food. We're going to be talking about some of these roles in the next several slides. So fat is the chief storage form of energy in the body, and it provides energy for our muscles. So remember that carbohydrates are the preferred fuel source for the body. But anytime that we consume excess calories or excess food, it doesn't matter what we eat, that energy is going to be stored in the form of fat. So fat in the storage form is going to provide energy for muscles. It's also going to serve as a reserve for energy during times of illness or starvation. So think about when you've been sick before and you don't really want to eat. You still survive because your body is drawing on some of that energy from your fat stores. Also, if an individual is, in a starvation mode or not consuming enough calories or enough energy, those fat stores will also be used to provide energy during these times as well. Adipose tissues also secrete hormones, and these have a big role in helping to regulate the appetite, and they may also influence other body functions. And this picture, which is from your textbook, gives a nice visual of a fat cell in the body. Fat is stored very efficiently in the body, so we've talked about carbohydrates, of course, being the preferred fuel source, but any sort of excess carbohydrate that is stored in the body is stored as fat, or any excess carbohydrate that is consumed is going to be stored as fat. And the reasoning behind this is because carbohydrates are not stored very efficiently. So remember that the storage form of glucose is glycogen, and glycogen holds a lot of water, so it's very bulky, so it doesn't lay very well. So basically, if we were storing all this glycogen in our body, it would be very heavy. Whereas fat can pack very tightly together without water. It's more water-fearing per se, so we can store more energy in a small space. Fat is also a much more concentrated source of energy than carbohydrates. So remember, carbohydrates provide 4 calories per gram, and fat provides 9. So it provides more than 2 times the amount of calories per gram than carbohydrates and protein. So fat, again, stored very efficiently in the body because it doesn't have all that water. So you can think of yourself having a fat storage room in those times of needing to draw on fat for energy. So again, during times of illness and starvation, or when your muscles need energy. As you can again see from Table 5.1, fats are very fundamental for health. So they play an important role in normal growth and development. They help to maintain cell membranes. So you might have heard of something called the lipid bilayer. We'll talk more about these in some upcoming segments. Fats can also play a role in mood stability. They help to absorb certain vitamins, specifically fat-soluble vitamins. They're important for insulating and cushioning your organs and bones. Again, they're a concentrated source of energy, and then they have some important roles providing sensory properties in our food. So they provide flavor, texture, and stability to all the foods that we consume. Let's take a closer look at the role of fat in food. So again, fat is a very concentrated calorie source, and lots of energy can be found in small packages because fat is very energy dense. So think of something like peanut butter or even nuts. These provide a lot of calories for not a very large amount. There's a nice demonstration in your textbook as well. Figure 5.2, doing the comparison of the lunches. So If you're out hiking or you need something that has a lot of calories but doesn't take up a lot of room, something that has a lot of fat in it might be something good for you to carry because it's not going to be taking up a large space. Fat also is important for helping or aiding in the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, and our fat-soluble vitamins are A, D, E, and K. We'll talk more about these when we get to our chapter on vitamins. And fatty foods also provide essential fatty acids. We'll talk more about these, but as a little preview, essential again means that the body can't make it. So we must consume essential fatty acids or other essential nutrients through our food sources. So some fatty foods will provide these essential fatty acids for our body. As I mentioned before, fat also provides many sensory qualities, different aromas, flavors, tenderness. People naturally like high-fat foods because of these sensory qualities. And fat also can be related to satiety. And satiety is our feeling of fullness or satisfaction after we consume a meal or some type of food. So fat really helps us feel full. And fat also slows down food movement or the movement of food through our digestive system, and it really slows the digestive process. So fat, again, because it's kind of sitting there for a while in our stomachs, this can help increase satiety as well. So this is the end of our first segment on fats or lipids. The next segment will take a closer look at lipids.